Hey, we back. I'm here on Karuta today, and we're talking about dojos. Dojos being the new and cool thing that is not new and cool. Yay! Of course, we had the dojo rewards added recently, and so there were a lot more people talking about dojos and engaging with dojos, which I've been saying is going to happen for months now. So that's pretty epic. But in the last video that I made about this, where we talked about the new achievement system and the dojo rewards in general, I mentioned about some issues that I had with level 100. And I was like, you know what, I might make a video about that in the future because I felt like it. And so this is that video. Here we are. Hi guys, we're talking about level 100 fighters. Now first, to give you some context, if we have a look at a fighter, for example, I have here my level 100 Hisoka, coincidence, we have the perks. And this is basically what a fighter is, their current build, their current setup, what they do, right? And so if you've seen my video on the Splinter strategy, I showed you my Hisoka in that, and this is the strategy he uses with the splinters. I think it's very funny, I think it's very cool. If you want any more information about that, feel free to check out that video. Now, getting a really good build here is basically what makes your ability to rank up in dojos a thing. And if you want to get to the high ranks in dojos, you need to have a fighter with a really good build. There are two ways of doing this. Well, technically there's three. The third one is get lucky, Lamau. You're very lucky indeed. So the two ways really of doing this involve re-rolling these in order to fine-tune your build and get it more exactly what you want. You will start off by having a look at the, not stats, attributes. We have all of these values here. I believe I've made a video about this before. If not, maybe I'll make one. Who knows? But yes, these basically determine how likely you are to get a certain skill. We can have a look at perk info here. It's going to give us the first perk, adaptation, and it will say you are most likely to get this perk if you have soul of 51 and insight of plus 66. Attribute values with the highest chance to roll the perk below. So if you really want adaptation in your build, you have to pick someone that has close to those stats. As you can see, the soul on Hisoka is only 10 and the insight is minus 29. So he's pretty unlikely to get adaptation. It is still possible, I'm pretty sure, but it's unlikely. You want to look through all of the perks in perk info, pick which ones you want, and then pick a fighter which has stats very close to these. And then once you've got a high chance of getting the perks you get, you reroll. So if we head over to the Actions tab, we can see the re-rolling stuff. We have Rebirth and we have Ascend. I'm going to talk about Rebirths first, but Ascend is the main point of the video. When you Rebirth, you reset the fighter's experience, level, and Ascensions. It re-rolls the attributes and perks and allows a change of technique. So when you Rebirth them, it of course costs you 30 damage dust, which is worth around a ticket. And you're going to get a completely new fighter with new stuff. So I've seen people sink thousands of damage dust into rebirthing a character just so that they can get the perks that they want. Now in theory, I think the attributes are slightly linked to the visit system. So if you've got a character with attributes that are close to the ones that you've got, and we'll talk about that in a second, then it might be worth rebirthing them just to fine-tune the attributes a little bit. But in general, when you are rebirthing them, you want to be re-rolling the perks. And every time you re-roll the perks, you get a chance at having the epic build that's going to be getting you all the way to the top of the ranked system. So it's almost like a gacha, really. You keep putting in your 30 damage dust, and if you're lucky, you'll get a really nice build. This is kind of a bit of a pay-to-win option, because if you have hundreds of thousands of damage dust, you can just keep pressing the rebirth button until you've got the best possible set of perks. Of course, you still need to be reasonable at the game and be sensible with your attacks and be active and all the rest of it, but as long as you have the build, then getting up in the ranked system shouldn't be too hard. The fact that this exists is fine. I don't have a problem with there being a kind of pay-to-win option to this. In fact, there's actually kind of two, because what you can also do is just register a bunch of different fighters. Registering a fighter costs a ticket, which, like I said, is basically equivalent to this 30 damage dust, and of course, it's going to give you a new fighter with no experience, no level, no ascensions, and a rerolled set of attributes and perks. The second option is Ascend. Ascend is the putting effort in option. It's only available at level 100. It resets experience and level, obviously not Ascensions, and rerolls a perk set of your choice. If we have a look at perks, what it means by perk set is one of these options. So I could say, for example, pick the level 40 option and say, reroll these 3 please, and it will give me a new set of 3 perks for this option, which is pretty nice. This is the fine-tuning ability here. And what it means is that if you've got a build that's already pretty nice, but maybe you're missing a couple of perks that you want, you can reroll by ascending and then get those perks. If we have a look at my Eris, for example, who I would say is probably my best fighter, you can see on level 30, for example, I don't actually use any of these perks. This means that punch or block will be added because a choice has not been made. This is because I don't think any of these 3 perks would help my Eris in their build, and I would rather not use them. I'd rather have the punch or the block. This is therefore an excellent something to re-roll, because if I re-roll it and get a really good perk, then my Eris's build has been improved. In fact, it could possibly be a really big improvement. And given my Eris's attributes, which I think are pretty good, I'm likely to get a perk that I want. However, this doesn't always work out. In fact, I can tell you now, I have already ascended on Eris, and I did re-roll the level 31 and didn't get anything that I wanted to use. What this means is that ascending and you get to level 100, you ascend, you reroll the perks, sometimes it does nothing at all, which is pretty sad. And then you consider you've probably got quite a few of these to reroll. Now, I think my Eris's build is pretty good. Like I said, she's my best fighter in my opinion. I've got the level 31 that I don't use, and I've got the level 85 one that I don't use. That's the only 2 that I don't use. Now, admittedly, I would be happy to reroll some of these others that maybe aren't as good, perhaps Blindside or something like that. But the level 30 and the level 85 are the only ones that I actually don't use. So if I could re-roll those 2, I'd be even happier with my build. But as evidence, I've already re-rolled 1. I did this months ago, and it didn't help me out. I didn't get anything better. How many times do you think I will have to ascend and re-roll just to fix those 2 perks? It's quite a few. Now, it should be quite a few, to be fair, because if you're trying to go for the best fighter ever, and you're trying to take the effort option, then it's going to be quite a few resets, a few ascensions. The issue is it takes a long time to get that level 100, and this is the main point of the video. Ascending in order to reroll perks just kind of isn't worth it, because it takes so long to get back to level 100, and the payoff you get for doing it is pretty small. This isn't even mentioning the fact that being level 100 is the requirement for entering ranked. I've never managed to have my Eris in ranked because she's never been level 100 during a season, because it takes a good while to level her up from level 0 to 100, and if I've just ascended her, I'm not going to get her back there in time for the season. Since level 100 is the requirement for ranked, I feel like it should be a bit easier to hit. Not because it should be easy to get into ranked. Obviously, the whole point of having a requirement for ranked is that only the people that know how the system works and are able to compete are going to be able to enter ranked, and that's fair. But it actually takes a significant amount of effort to get to level 100, and if you're ascending to reroll some of these perks, then it takes even more effort, because then you have to get to level 100, ascend, and then get all the way back to level 100, and that's for every ascension, right? The only advantage that ascending actually has over just re-rolling your perks with a rebirth or registering a new fighter is that, of course, you get to pick which one is re-rolled. But the chances are you want more than one re-rolled anyway. The only option that you have, really, to get the best possible fighter is to do the pay-to-win option first and spend thousands of damage dust re-rolling all your perks, and then after that, ascending maybe once or twice if there's one particular perk that you didn't like too much. It kind of makes the quote-unquote pay-to-win option the mandatory option, because if you want to make your build purely off ascending, you're going to have to ascend so many times. You're gonna be at it for months without even being able to play ranked in the interim, because your fighter's not going to be level 100 all the time. Meanwhile, anyone that re-rolled using rebirths or by registering new fighters already has the builds that they want, or at least close enough to it, and they can just get 100 once, and then just sit in every ranked season without having to grind at all. It saves so much time in the long run. The amount of time that it takes in order to get XP, I think, is simply too long. Now I'm going to make another comparison to another bot, which is Notbot. I've made quite a few videos on Notbot in the past. Its entire premise is a very similar situation to Dojo. You get your fighters, you go in, they each have attacks, you're up against another team. It's a team of 3 in Notbot rather than a team of 1. But yeah, you get your attacks, you're using your special attacks, your regular attacks, maybe some healing, maybe some defense, whatever. And then whoever is left alive at the end wins. You get some XP and your fighters level up. It's a very similar situation to Dojo. The difference being that in Notbot, a fight takes around 30 seconds, whereas in Karuta Dojo, a fight takes a good couple of minutes. Then in Karuta Dojo, you need to get a streak if you want to get any reasonable amount of XP, and so you need to fight again. Whereas Notbot, you're already done, you can start the next fight. And then the other thing is that if you get to fight number 5 and then you lose, you've just spent 15 minutes grinding on Dojo and you have nothing to show for it. Whereas in Notbot, of course, by that point, you've done 30 battles and they all gave you XP. In fact, they give you some XP even if you do lose. Obviously, you get more if you win, but just saying. Now, Notbot is a bot based entirely around this battle system. Obviously, Karuta has Dojo on the side. Its main point is the card collecting mechanics. The point here being that Notbot should take longer to do all of this stuff in order to level up, because its entire premise is this Dojo system, whereas on Karuta, the Dojo is meant to be the side thing that you also play as well as the card collecting thing. And personally, I spent many months grinding on Notbot. I was one of the top players on it. That's not saying a lot because it's kind of a small bot, and so I would imagine that I would be very willing compared to other people in order to grind on Dojo. But I'll tell you now that grinding on Notbot was much more preferable to me, just because it took so much less time to actually make progress. And that's even aside from the fact that, to be honest, I think Notbot's a lot more repetitive and Karuta Dojo is more fun. So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is I am sad that Ascensions on Dojos don't really seem worth it. I've spoken to a couple of people about them and they've generally said, yeah, I don't ascend, I don't want to grind all the way back up to level 100. But this also means that grinding on Karuta Dojos doesn't really become a thing, and what actually happens is people will just throw loads of money at it until they luck upon a good fighter and then go do the ranking system. You grind up to level 100 once and you're sorted. I think this is kind of sad, and that's not really how it should work. Obviously there will be some people out there that have done loads of ascensions and maybe sitting there going, no, I do loads of ascensions and it's great, you just need to put more effort in. And sure, maybe that's true, but at the end of the day I'd rather put effort into something like Notbot, which despite being more repetitive is actually more enjoyable to grind on because it seems like I'm actually making progress, rather than Dojo where I spend a month grinding to level 100 and then get absolute nothing as the reward for it. I think what needs to be done, entirely in my opinion, is that level 100 needs to be easier to get. I mean that quite literally, like give out more XP or make the XP requirement lower or something like that, because it would include more people in ranked mode. At the moment, fighting in ranked mode is actually kind of difficult because you've got to do a lot of Dojo grinding before you can even start. I also think it would make Ascensions more viable as a competitor to just throwing money at it, which is more fun. This is why I've not thrown money at it and I go for Ascensions, because I think it's the more fun option. And potentially reworking the way that the streak XP works, because I really love the fact that every time you fight you go up against a better opponent and you have the option of getting more XP, and it is more efficient to fight against that higher level opponent and get more XP than to quit and then fight a lower level one again. But the fact that you can then just get unlucky and lose all the XP that you got so far is kind of damning, and I wish you did get at least some of it back, just because it would be nice, you know, just because it would be nice. I don't think that's the be-all and end-all of everything, and at the end of the day I'm not really complaining about that. And of course, if you got your really good fighter build already, then you can just not lose, easy. But the issue is, if you've got your really good fighter build already, why are you grinding at all? You don't need the XP, right? So I don't know, it's a little counterintuitive. I'm not a huge fan. These are some things that I've thought for a while. I wasn't really planning on making a video about them, which is why I didn't back months ago. But because it cropped up in the last video, I was like, sure, whatever, I guess I'll make a video about it. It's kind of topical since people are doing dojos now anyway. You can also take this as an advice video where I tell you, spend a bunch of money on dojo fighters, don't bother ascending, because that's what I think is the correct decision to make. Also worth noting that when you enter the dojo, of course, you get a team of 3 fighters. So all of this stuff that we've just talked about, you then need to do 3 times over in order to get a good team. I think realistically, people just don't do that. I certainly don't do that. I think the idea is that you see who you're going up against and you go, this fighter will be good against them with that strategy. Aha, smart, now I can keep my win streak. And like, yeah, absolutely, that is great. I love that that is a thing that you have the option of doing. The issue being that getting one fighter with a good build is hard enough, and you want me to do it 3 times now? Kind of high ask, in my opinion. Of course, yeah, the answer is spend more effort on dojos or spend more money on dojos, but I think spending more money on dojos shouldn't be the solution, and spending more effort on dojos is a lot. It's a lot of effort to get to level 100. It takes a good while. Like, you can sit here for 5 hours, and like when you're at level 90, the XP requirement to level up is a lot. Like I say, you can sit here for 5 hours and not make it. In fact, I have, and there are videos of me doing that on my channel where I sit here for like 5 hours and level up maybe 15 times. Oof. Yeah, it's a lot of grinding, and it takes a long time. And yeah, if you put the work in, you can absolutely get a good fighter. It's totally possible. I just don't think it's particularly accessible. I have one final point to tag on the end of this video, just because it also cropped up in a conversation on my Discord server the other day, and I was like, I'll tag it on the end. And so here's me tagging it on the end. This video is just a kind of random opinions video, so I don't know. Like, if you're still watching, then hey, that's cool. I'm astonished. But anyway, yes, this most recent announcement in the bulletin board. It's a very good point. If you're an experienced dojo player who's interested in breaking through as a large Karuta server, only there are more people interested in participating now than ever before, blah blah blah. Any server that explains the different game modes and allows players to such and such will probably grow to be large and successful. This is an excellent point. Craig is correct that making a dojo server is a thing that people can do. There aren't, as far as I'm aware, big dojo servers yet. There absolutely will be some dojo servers, but there's nothing big yet. For sure, Craig doesn't know about any. He's clearly hoping that there will be some, and I'm expecting that if a big one crops up, he'll probably put it in the featured servers channel on his hub. This is great. I love this. But Craig, I think, is making a bit of an assumption here, which is that making a server is not that easy. You have to put a lot of effort in to advertise the server and get it out there. And absolutely, if you do that, you will probably get a large Karuta server, because there are a lot of people interested in dojos. And if you know what you're doing and you explain it well, then yeah, you'll probably get a lot of people joining. But as evidenced by someone I know who started a dojo server a couple of months ago and it kind of died, you don't just get members for free. Now, I said this and he pointed out to me himself, but that's because we didn't put much effort into advertise it. And like, yeah, absolutely right. The same thing that I said to him is that you do need to put effort into advertising it, like, absolutely. And if you did put effort into advertising it, then it might have been big. But I feel like this entire statement is a bit misleading, therefore. Any server is not going to get a lot of members, like, absolutely not. I guarantee there are already dojo servers out there, probably a lot of them, and they have no people in, because it turns out you need to do more than just make a server in order to get server members. And this is why I say the announcement is kind of misleading. Dojo is a big thing, and you can make a big dojo server right now, but like, personally, I'm not going to try, because I already have my server. You can come join, link in the description. We play Karuta, among other things. We talk about dojos, because I make videos about dojos. Like, yeah, absolutely. But my server isn't going to be featured on Craig's list, is it? Because it's not big enough. He's only got a couple thousand people on there, and I think he wants 5 times that. So yeah, I don't know, whatever. I just thought I'd throw that in at the end. I find it kind of funny. I think Craig is underestimating how hard making a new server is and making it big, because it takes some real advertisement, some real effort. But anyway, that's all I had to say in this video. But basically a bunch of random opinions about dojos and the state of things at the moment. It's a bit of a complaint, and I don't really expect anything to come of it. I'm not expecting Craig to watch the video, and even if he does, I'm not expecting him to change anything. And that is just how things go sometimes. I'm sure there are plenty of other people with completely different opinions than me. I'm just trying to explain my thoughts, get people thinking about things. That's the main point. Because if you have a different opinion, then like we can get a discussion going. My aim really is just to get people thinking about things, because there's very likely to be other people that have different opinions than me, and will come and tell me I'm wrong about everything. But then, you know, I learn, you learn, everyone learns. We all think about it differently, and we improve our game in general, which is all good. So there you go. That's what I think about the current situation. This is also the reason why I haven't done too much dojo grinding, because like, turns out getting to level 100 hard. Plus I have work to do. I have a life outside of Karuta. Damn, I can't sit and play the minigame for 12 hours a day. Huge rip. But anyway, yeah, that's what I think about it. So I'll be leaving this video here. Bye.